Hey Coach, first off for you today, how was practice? How'd you feel today went? Only a week until the season starts, so a big day for you guys getting ready for the year.
You know, certainly excited about the opener and just focus on the process and the guys obviously digesting the game plan and focus on how we're going to fit the run and stop them in the pass and the different weapons they have. And they present some very unique challenges and obviously a big physical front. So just working on the process and being successful every day at it.
You guys have a very good linebacker group from what I've heard from a lot of different coaches as well from this season. How excited are you about the team and the group that you have and you've been coaching over the last few weeks?
I mean, I just, as a coach, I appreciate the work they put in up to this point, if that makes sense. You know, the commitment that people don't see in the weight room, in the film room, you know, throughout the spring and through the summer, and all the extra little things, the details they're doing with their nutrition and just keep themselves on the field. So as a coach, man, it's a blessing because they're a really fun group to coach. They're very competitive. But they care about each other, you know what I mean? Not just as football players, as people. So I'm excited for them to get out there and really shut their brains off and just go cut it loose.
You mentioned the work ethic of a lot of your guys in the group, and one of the guys who has an insane work ethic from what he said to me and personally, Keyshawn Elliott, him waking up super early in the morning, getting active, getting going before practice start. What do you make of having a guy like him on the squad this year and his ability to maybe be like a leader or another role model for a lot of other guys on the team?
Yeah, you want your best players to be your hardest workers. You know, when your culture is going to change and shift, that's got to be the case. And he's certainly shown that. What I respect so much is he came in, transferred in, and it wasn't by his words, it was by his actions. It was getting in there early, it was doing extra lifts, it was what it was doing nutritionally or academically, like everything he was trying to do at a championship at a first-class level. And really, instead of talking about it, people have seen it, you know. So I think more and more guys are buying into that. And I think the culture of our team this year, there are more guys with that type of DNA anyways.
What do you make, after a couple of big interceptions throughout the course of camp, of Zyrus and his work and how he's been able to kind of impact being on like first and second team for you guys?
Man, he's a spark plug, man. Both him and Crook, they're like little pit bulls out there, you know what I mean? Like when they pull the triggers and make decisions, it's something explosive happening. And what's really cool to see is Zyrus has found a comfort level this fall that he didn't quite have this spring, just within the scheme. And so again, that's a testament to him and how much hard work he put in this summer in the film room, on the practice field, is really catching himself up, and you're starting to see it on the field.
What do you make of Jordan Crook? You mentioned him just a second ago, Arkansas transfer from the SEC, so he's kind of played in some of the best programs in the country, and now being at ASU. How does that, experience help you guys or help the room and maybe experience him?
You see a guy that's obviously played in some big atmospheres. You see a guy that's played against some of the top talent in the country, and the Pac-12 previously was a very good conference, and the Big 12 is going to be very good football as well. But, you know, going back to Crook, you just see a guy that has a very good understanding how to fit the run, and who's gotten so much better in the pass coverage. And you see his leadership, his energy. You know, he's a very vocal guy, and so he's bringing all those things. I think his pass is helping him as far as how he continues to grow here.
Do you have an extra bit of confidence for guys like that, players that have played at other programs at really high levels and now coming here? Do you think the big lights, the atmosphere isn't going to have any strain on him as a player?
I wouldn't say it's necessarily the level. You know what I mean? I came up as a lower level coach and from FCS to Group of 5. I was actually at Wyoming for 6 years and then Washington State. So I've seen guys from lower levels be very, very successful, if that makes sense. I think it's more just his experience. He's played a lot of football, and he's played a lot of football in adverse situations, if that makes sense. And so when things go awry, he's very consistent with his energy. You know what I mean? He doesn't get too high, too low, and he's very coachable in the moment. That's really the biggest thing generally with older and younger players, is how they handle adversity and how coachable are they when things get really hot.
Going up for this week 1 game against Wyoming, the linebacker group, obviously the leaders of the defense on the field. What have you seen from Wyoming, and what have you kind of drilled your guys, at least that you can tell us about them coming up for week 1?
Yeah, I mean, Wyoming's going to be a physical outfit. You know they're going to be coached very well. They're going to be very disciplined. They're going to be very physical in their line of scrimmage. They're going to try to establish the run, knowing how they're trained. Their strength coach does an excellent job. So this is going to be a team I don't think the heat's really going to bother, because they're going to be trained really well with that altitude. So we've got to be ready to play 4 quarters of football. We've got to really stop the run, and really our goal is to really own the line of scrimmage, whether it's run or pass. You know, as linebackers, we need to do our jobs, and Coach Ward talks about it all the time. Everybody's got to do their one in length, and so that's what we're really focused on right now as we continue to implement the game plan.
What has it been like for you guys implementing the in-helmet chat communication with you guys, and obviously for the linebackers having to deal with all that now, and that's been a new area for them to develop?
You know, those guys are wired differently. You know, when you get to know personality-wise each position, and especially the group we have, they really like it because it's extra information that they can use to play faster. Whether it's me being able to relay a split or formation alert or a down and distance alert, whatever it is, like they really enjoy that extra information. And I think the biggest thing for me is not giving them too much. So they've really enjoyed it so far.
How's you guys wait?
I was just going to say, how big has Keyshawn been to being a leader of this linebacker?
I say it's a group of guys that bring something individually. Like I think his work habits are probably, at least in the group, some of the best in the group. I don't want to speak for the whole team. But really when you look around, that's what's cool about the group. They all have their different ways they lead guys. Does that make sense? And I think what that's allowed Keyshawn to do is really settle into leading by example. What he does on the field and in the weight room and off the field, if that makes sense. I think that's where he really shines in his leadership role. And there's other guys around him that have kind of taken the reins in other area, whether it's vocally, the type of energy, the chemistry in the locker room. And so it's a group that, yes, Key, I think does a really good job, but there's other guys that I'd be remiss, if I didn't mention as well.
Is he helping to kind of fill that large void left when Travion Brown is gone now? Yeah,
I'd say that. I'd say, like Tate stepped up so much. Caleb's a different guy. Obviously, Crook and Zyrus were guys that played at Zyrus was an all-conference guy, and Crook played, at Arkansas. So those guys were very experienced guys. And so I think it's just a combination of a lot of things. And again, it's cool because they're all different personalities, so they each bring a little different piece of the pie.
What have you seen from Jordan Crook's development from the spring to fall? It seems like he's made a lot of progress.
Yeah, he has. I think he's much more comfortable overall in the scheme. I think he's much better in pass coverage. That's where I've seen a big difference. He came in, and I thought he was one of our better guys out the gate, just as far as fitting the run, which makes sense coming from where he came from. But he's, just with all those guys, the longer they're here, there's more comfort in the scheme, what we're doing it, and now they're really able to look across the other side of the ball and use the tendencies and tips to let them to play even faster.
How is it today dealing with the scout team? Obviously, kind of getting different looks from what Wyoming might throw at you guys, and having to deal with some different style of football that you've been practicing over the last few weeks.
Oh, we love it, man. I love that. I think iron sharpens iron, and if we can get those guys to give us a good look, whether it's the pitcher, the speed, whether it's the technique, whatever it is, and keep coaching those guys up. Our whole goal is to make things as hard as we can on our guys during the week. So on Saturdays, the flow of the game and the speed of the game are relatively, I don't want to say easy, but there's not a big difference. So that's why they pay us money, is to get that stuff figured out.
What's been the biggest thing for you guys that you've been trying to kind of push in practice to make it more difficult, or something that your team might have been struggling with the linebacker group, but they're kind of growing and getting better at each day?
I think it's just as a whole defense how to take the next step on communicating and anticipating, whether it's by the formations or the different tendencies or tips that we have, what we're going to get. Does that make sense? And then anytime you get 11 guys that will trust their guts and play fast, that's when you're going to have an explosive defense.
I wanted to ask you about Caleb McCullough. There's a guy that didn't play a lot at first, stayed through the coaching changes. What improvements have you seen him in the last year?
Coach Conley put it best. We were talking this summer, and every single session, and I haven't been here his whole career, but every single session he's gotten better in the weight room, and ever since I've gotten the opportunity to coach him, he just gets better and better. I see a guy that's, like, when I hear him on the field, he's much more confident, you know what I mean? And confident sounds different, so he's a lot louder on the field in his communication, his ability to play both spots. And now that he understands what he's doing, now you see his fundamentals, his tackling, his block distraction, all the things that you don't want them thinking about, those things are getting better because now he can actually focus on them.
So, a lot of guys don't stay through that, through not playing and the coaching change.
It says a lot. You go back to his high school, he's got a really good, and he's really close with the coaches that coach him in high school, and I think they provide a very sound foundation. His parents provide a great sound foundation. I think Caleb's always wanted to be a Sun Devil and really believes in this place.
So he's a loyal guy, too.
He is very loyal. And trust me, as a coach, like, you really appreciate that and respect that. And, trust me, I love coaching him. He's awesome.
Thanks.
Yep, no problem.